Alright, welcome to a new behind the scenes video. A few of you requested more flight reports or in detail procedures on how flights are done. So here we are sitting in our 172 again and are going to make a short flight from Dinslaken to Essen, which is approximately a 10-minute hop. And I'll just go through all the procedures with you, how the aircraft is started up and how procedures are done in flight, leaving the traffic pattern, entering the traffic pattern, and so on. So first of all, let's see where we're going. We are currently here at Dinslaken Schwarze Heide. That's our home airfield. And we want to go here to Essen-Mülheim, which is it's just a straight line, approximately heading of 175 degrees down to the south. It's gonna take us 10 minutes of flying time, and we're gonna leave Dinslaken, leave the traffic pattern, climb to 2,000 feet, fly all the way to here, descend to 1,500 feet due to the airspace Charlie here of the Düsseldorf airport, and then go for the traffic pattern altitude of 1,400 feet and enter the traffic pattern at Essen-Mülheim and land in Essen-Mülheim. So this is our chart for Dinslaken Schwarze Heide, which basically shows the runway and the traffic pattern around the airfield. Currently runway 26 is open, so we will be taking off in that direction, and we will join the traffic pattern until we reach the traffic pattern altitude of 1,200 feet, and thereafter leave the traffic pattern to the south. And that depends on where we reach that altitude. If we reach it here, we are just going to directly leave to the south and of course announce it on the Unicom frequency, or otherwise we'll join the downwind and then leave via the downwind towards Essen. So, so much for the flight planning, and now let's go through the aircraft startup. Alright, so here we are, ready to start up our aircraft. We did the pre-flight, we did everything. We ensured that enough fuel is on board, that the oil is good, that the tires are good, the whole airplane is in a airworthy shape. So now let's go through the startup of this aircraft. You see here a small checklist I made for myself. It's based on the original checklist, but it's put down to a more handy format because the original checklist is on a much bigger paper. So we're now just going through all the items here in the aircraft, and after we're done so, we're going to check with the checklist. And right now we're at the before start checklist, so let's see that the aircraft is ready for the startup. First we want to see that the fuel selector is on both tanks. So you can either select left, right or both. This should be at both. The fuel shutoff or fuel cutoff is in, so we got fuel supply to the engine. Our power lever is on idle and it's freely movable. Then the shutoff cabin heat should be fully pulled out for normal operation. The alternate air door should be closed. This is for this diesel injection engine. You have to have an alternate air source in case your air filter is going to ice up. So this should be shut. All switches here should be off. The avionics master is off and all the circuit breakers are in. Now let's turn on the aircraft. First we engage the battery and main bus switch. And now you see the FADEC of this engine coming to life. And next we activate the beacon. So now we have the flashing beacon on. Everybody knows we're going to start up soon. And now it's the engine master to on. This will actually arm or activate the FADEC. And now you see it glowing. It's a diesel engine. So we have to wait until the glow light is extinguished. Thereafter we turn on the fuel pumps. And now let's just go through the checklist. Fuel selector is on both, fuel cutoff is on, alternate air door is closed, avionics are off, bat and main bus are on, beacon is on, engine master is on, fuel pump is on, and throttle is idle. Now let's start it up. Clear? The engine successfully started, oil pressure is in the green. Now we test for the backup battery. This is, we turn off the alternator, we turn off the battery switch, and then also cool the main bus. and the engine continues running. Now we turn on the avionics, shut off the fuel pump and clear all the warnings here. And let's go through the after start checklist. Oil pressure is in the green, fuel pump is off, avionics are on. We cleared the FedEx and we got the amp meter and the voltmeter showing green. So after start checklist is complete.
We now have to wait for the aircraft engine to warm up, and till then we can check our flight instruments. I don't need the GPS for that short distance, but just for showcase purposes I'm going to program it with a direct to Essen. So we select airports, and I'll just enter the 4-letter ICAO code, which is Echo Delta Lima Echo, and press enter to confirm. And now we have a line showing where we need to go. Now we can just zoom in on the information here, stand by. Yeah, the topography should be displayed in a moment. But here you can see the distance, it's 13.1 nautical miles from our present GPS position. The bearing we have to fly, the track we are currently at, the GPS isn't sure as we are not moving. And our estimated arrival time and estimated time en route. And our ground speed, of course, we're still standing on the ground, is 0. Let's just check for the flight instruments. Our airspeed indicator, we will rotate or lift up the nose at 55 miles, indicating in miles per hour on the outer scale, and the inner scale it's knots. So we're going to rotate at 55 miles and then accelerate to around 70 to 75. The initial climb will be done with 80 miles, and later en route climb will be between 80 and 90 miles an hour. Our altimeter is set to the airfield elevation, which is 217 feet, which gives us a QNH of around about 1016.5, 1016, 1017. And let's just adjust the gyro. Our compass heading currently is 70 degrees, so we just adjust the gyro to 070 degrees. Let's set up our comms. This is the comm frequency of Dinslaken, which is an uncontrolled airfield. Essen is also an uncontrolled airfield, and it has a different comm frequency. We can get it from our chart. And it's 119.75, and in the brackets here you can see it's serviced in English and German. So 119.75 on standby, and the frequency on the active is our current airfield. On the nav frequency we have the VOR of Barmen, 113.60, but we're not going to use any radio navigation, so just let it, we can just remain here. And actually we can switch to the Düsseldorf VOR DME, 115.15, from where we can get the latest weather information once we're airborne. So, as you can see down here, we still need to wait for the oil temperature and the coolant temperature to warm up. Once they are in the green, the aircraft is ready for the departure. Actually, the engine currently is running at 880 to 900 RPM. Well, not the engine, the propeller. But there's an LED missing here, so it looks like a 6 or a 5. But it's actually 880 RPM. This is our load in percent. So currently the engine is running at 6% of its maximum load. And other indications here are the gear temperature, the oil pressure, and here on the right, on the left, sorry, you can see the fuel consumption in gallons per hour. So currently 0.4 gallons an hour. Fuel tank temperature, ampere meter, and voltmeter. So, I guess we'll just wait for the aircraft to warm up, and I'll talk to you when we are taxiing out to the runway. Alright, the engine is warm, we're ready to taxi, and we're just going to taxi out of our parking position here, and just after we started rolling we're going to check our brakes, and thereafter in the next turns we will check our gyro instruments. So let me just apply some power to get out of here, and now we're moving. Check the brakes, both brakes checked, and now we're just turning to the left to get to the main taxiway. And we now check for the gyro instruments. They are turning to the left. Turn coordinator is indicating turn to the left, and the gyro is turning to the left. Now turn to the right, and they are working as they should. Now let's check for the flight controls for the full travel. Pull down, pull left up, pull right up, pull right down, pull left down. Flight controls are checked. Let's check for the trim. Trim is set for takeoff. And now let's check for the flaps that they move through their full travel. Pull down. And they're going full up again. Now I will make an announcement on the frequency of this airfield that we're taxiing and what we're gonna do. Dinslaken vor Delta Echo Delta Juliet Lima, hallo.
Liste 26. Wind aus 260 mit 6 Knoten.
Dinslaken vor Delta Echo Delta Juliet Lima, Cessna 172, 2 Personen VFR lokal nach Essen. Wir rollen zur 26 Dinslaken. So what you just heard was the automated ATIS, or what's similar to the AWOS in America. It just gives us what runway is in use, the wind direction and wind speed. We're having a good tailwind, headwind here, so shouldn't be a hard takeoff. And now we're just taxiing to the runway, and we'll see each other again when we do the engine run up. Alright, now we've reached the holding point. Now what we gotta do is the run up of our engine to check that everything is in order and that everything works as it should, and this is really easy with this aircraft as it's FedEx controlled, so all I have to do is push a button and observe what the computer is doing. But now let's just go through the taxi checklist and see that we completed all these items during taxi. We checked our brakes, flaps are checked for full travel, flight controls were checked, snap trim is set, gyro instruments are checked, and the altimeter is set and checked. Alright, now for the run up, I just press this button. The FedEx will spool the engine up to 1200 RPM approximately, and then switch off one of the two control units. Adjust the propeller pitch, see that the governor is working, then spool down to 800 RPM for idle, and switch to the other control unit and repeat all that stuff again. So let's see how it goes. Both units are on. Now only the B unit is running, and that works perfectly. Now idle RPM switches to the A unit. A unit is running up. And that also works perfectly. Light extinguishes, everything is fine. We got good suction here for our gyro instruments. If I just advance the power a little bit, you can see we are already in the green. So our suction pump is working. And now let's get ready for the takeoff. We turn on the strobe slide, the fuel pump, and switch the transponder to alt. Our flaps will be set at 0 degrees for takeoff, and let's just go through the before takeoff checklist. Fuel selector is set to both, FedEx is tested, suction is checked, fuel pump is on, flaps set to 0 degrees, probes on, nav lights are not required, landing lights are not required, and transponder to alt. That completes our before takeoff checklist, and here we go. Delta Juliet Lima, Rollhalt. 26 geht auf die Bahn und startet. Okay. Take off. Power is set. Engine instruments are within limits. Airspeed is alive. We lift up the nose gear. And at 70, we can rotate the whole aircraft. And now we're at 75, 80. And we're just climbing out. Little to none crosswind here. And it's a beautiful day to fly. I'll make sure that one hand is always on the power lever, so in case, even though it has a friction lock, in case it falls back, that it doesn't. And one hand on the controls. And with one hand on the power lever, I can easily reach the trim control and also the fuel pump that I'm going to shut off now. Alright, we reached our cruising altitude of 2,000 feet now. Now we're going for a straight and level flight. We're going to trim out the aircraft. And then reduce power to cruise power, which is approximately at 67%. So we got it set here. And now trim out the rest of the control forces. And we're in a good steady cruise towards Essen. You can see here our ground speed is approximately 93, 92 knots. Okay, now reducing to 90 knots. And our estimated time en route will be around 8 minutes. And our indicated airspeed, just for reference, is 103 knots. So we got a good headwind here. And I'll talk to you as soon as we start our descent to Essen. Alright, so we're now just starting our descent into Essen. We have to descend a little bit due to the airspace Charlie of Düsseldorf, so we're now going to descend to 1,500 feet. And we can expect runway 25 for Essen-Mülheim, so we'll enter the traffic pattern at the midsection of the downwind and then join for a standard traffic pattern. Our approach speed will be 80 miles per hour and we will land with 20 degrees of flaps. Actually, if you can see the highway outside, I don't know if Tim can show it to you on the camera. This is our landmark for the boundaries of the airspace Charlie. So once we cross the Autobahn, we should be down to at least 1,500 feet. And it's actually to the left of us. The turn the highway makes here on the left, which is the boundary of the airspace Charlie to Düsseldorf. But we're now at 1,500 feet, descending down to 1,400 feet for the traffic pattern altitude, and we're just about 1 or 2 minutes off to the traffic pattern of Essen. And we also reduced our speed a little bit into the wide arc, so as soon as we establish the end of the downwind, we can expand our flaps and start with our landing configuration. At this point, I'll already turn on the fuel pump again. And let's just go for the descent checklist. The fuel selector is on both, landing data is checked, and the altimeter is set to 1017 now. And that concludes that checklist. Now I think it's not easy to spot on the camera. There's a water tower on the left side, which will be our reference mark for the downwind leg. And as soon as we're on the open fields here, that are directly in front of us, we'll turn left for the downwind of runway 25. Just a little bit of turbulence, but not really much or nothing of concern. So it's a really smooth day to fly, smooth air and clear skies. Just an overcast at approximately flight level 80. And the aerodrome is now just directly ahead of us. Okay, now we turn left into the downwind and report that on the Unicom frequency. Die Delta Juliet Lima dreht in den Gegenanflug 25. Okay, Tim is showing you the airfield to the right side of us. Now we're just in the downwind. And as soon as we reach the end of the downwind, we're going to start our landing configuration. That means extending our flaps to 10 degrees and already slow down to our approach speed. So I'm now going to extend the flaps to 10 degrees. Flaps are at 10 degrees, I trim out the forces and reduce a little bit on the power to get down the speed. Actually, speed is controlled through the pitch and our altitude is controlled through our power. Well, that's actually everything about flying. And we make our right turn here and start our descent for the base leg of runway 25. Delta Juliet Lima queren Flug 25. At this point I'm going to extend the flaps to approximately 25 degrees and this will be our final landing configuration. Got a good headwind, so we don't need that much flaps. And this isn't a short field, we got 1,500 meters of runway. And actually this isn't a rectangular traffic pattern, it's actually sort of squashed at one end because we have to keep on one side of a highway here, which we're currently following. The rule is just our left wheel should be on the highway. So if I look down out of my window I see the left wheel touching the highway. And as we align with the runway we're gonna go for the center line. And this is the case now, so we make a small right turn and check that everything is set for landing. The fuel pump is on, strobes are on, we don't need any landing lights, flaps are set, and we're good for the landing. Speed is at around 80, 85. And to the left you can see a rescue helicopter. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're clear of the runway, so let's retract the flaps. Turn off the fuel pump. Turn off the strobe lights. And switch the transponder to standby. And now we're just going to taxi to the parking where we're going to shut down the aircraft. Okay, let's just turn the aircraft around here. And shut it down. Let's go through the checklist. After landing checklist, the fuel pump is off, flaps are retracted, landing light is off, transponder is standby, step trim is neutral, and the strobes are off. Shutdown checklist, avionics off. And the nav lights are off, the main bus off, engine master off, and that cuts our engine
beacon off, battery off. And that concludes our flight to Essen.